Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 179 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Joey Coastman. I'm joined as always by the infamous Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, my friend. Very good, very good, I usually say. Battling a little bit of a virus, but we have to still come with the show. The show must go on. We're going to start with the review part, as always. We're going to start at the Liacouras Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. I'm going to start down the card. I'm going to start with John Joe Nevin, a man that I think ended up actually being the last fight on. I think he was on after the main event, so it was untelevised for sure. 12-0 John Joe Nevin now, a unanimous decision over 6 rounds against Andres Figueroa, now 9-4. Daniil Yelusinov took on Silverio Ortiz. Yelusinov again. I don't know, man. There's just something lacking from him since he's turned over. But anyway, it was a win for him over 8 rounds unanimously. He's now 6-0. His opponent, Silverio Ortiz, now 37-24. Ortiz was down in round 7. It was weird because he was down, but then Yelusinov actually hit him while he was down, kind of thing, and then he had a point took off, and Ortiz made a meal out of it and all the rest of it, and it was, you know, if he stayed down, I think the commentator said it probably would have gone down as a disqualification, but thankfully for Yelusinov, that wasn't the case. He did get back up eventually, but the referee gave him so much amounts of time. It was so weird. But anyway, also on the bill, Luke Campbell moved to 20 wins. He's got the 2 losses. It was a TKO in the 5th round against Adrian Young, now 26-6 with 2 draws. To be completely honest, I mean, Campbell was so many levels above his man here, and it was a mismatch. I mean, the only thing what was a little bit interesting was that Young, his opponent, had never been stopped in his 5 losses, so Luke Campbell became the first man to stop him, but he hadn't really fought anyone, to be honest, and he did have 20 knockouts from 26 wins, so he did have a puncher's chance, but that was about all. The first knockdown from Campbell was quite nasty. Young went down and he got back up just in time, and when he got back up, his eye was bleeding. It was a savage knockdown, and then, like I say, Campbell managed to get him out of there in that 5th round, a TKO. Also on the bill, we got to see, well, we didn't get to see it on Sky TV. I'm not quite sure if they showed it on DAZN, but Avery Sparrow, a guy that I really don't know too much about, he's now 10-1. He's got the 1 loss, Avery Sparrow. I actually thought that Hank Lundy would win that one quite easily, just simply because I didn't know too much about Sparrow, and he had a loss. It was a majority decision, though, over 10 rounds, and Hank Lundy was actually down twice in round 2, so quite obviously there it seems like the knockdowns cost him the fight. A majority decision for Sparrow. Also on the bill, we got to see Gabe Rosado, 24-12 now with 1 draw. He took on Maciej Sulecki, 28-1 now. It was for the vacant WBO International Middleweight title. We're being told that the winner will get the Demetrius Andrade fight, unfortunately. Rosado was down in the 1st round. He was down in the 8th round, and Sulecki was down twice in the 9th round himself. Yeah, I mean, the first knockdown that Rosado scored in that 9th round, it was nice. It was a good knockdown, but the second one was a barrage of rabbit punches, in my opinion, and the referee did quite poor to not call that. And to be honest, I've seen that referee a few times before, and he's made some stellar mistakes, and I wasn't happy when I saw him refereeing it. And for me, he made another big mistake there. But yeah, Rosado poured it all out in that final 2 rounds. Sulecki dug deep and he did survive. But yeah, you know, Andrade, I think he wipes the floor with Sulecki. He would have absolutely destroyed Rosado. And for me, I think Rosado needs to retire. He even tried to say that he thought he won the fight. No way did he nearly win the fight. Sulecki was a level above, and Rosado is he's tough. I mean, that's all he is. He's I don't know. I suppose he's a likable guy, but there's nothing else to him. I mean, he's just I don't even know if he's a name. Is he a name? I suppose he is a name. How on earth did he end up in Creed? I guess he is a name, but yeah, nothing other than that. Just doesn't win at the top level. He's just an opponent, really. Also on the bill, we got to see Katie Taylor move to 13-0. She picked up the WBO World Female Lightweight title from Rose Valente. She was 14-0 going in, by the way. She was down in the first round, but she was able to go all the way to the 9th round where she got TKO'd. It was a one-sided fight, and Katie Taylor picks up another belt, so she now has 3. And the one that she doesn't have, the one title, the WBC, is of course with the Belgian lady Delphine Persoon. So that one should be a good fight should it happen. And topping the bill, Tevin Farmer 28-4, now 29-4. He's got 1 draw. It was for his IBF World Super-Featherweight title. He took on John O'Carroll. John O'Carroll was undefeated, 16-0, now 16-1 with that 1 draw. A unanimous decision over 12 rounds in favour of Mr. Farmer. Both men here were friends of the show, so it was it was a fight where I didn't really mind who won. It would have been nice to see Jono achieve his dream. The confidence that he had going into that fight was just unbelievable. It really was. And, we know about John O'Carroll, got the heart of a true Irishman, and he did himself very, very proud in there. But yeah, going through the fight, the first round, clearly a Farmer round. He was popping out that jab. He wasn't really landing with all of them. Jono did well to slip a lot of them, to be honest. But all in all, Carroll didn't really get close enough, often enough, to win the round. So a clear round there for Farmer. The second round, I felt it was brilliant tactics from Carroll. He was just simply targeting the body of Farmer, smashing to the body, in fact. He didn't throw more than 2 shots the whole round to the head. And the great thing about Tevin is that he's just able to remain calm and relax so much of the time in that ring. He's at home in a boxing ring. And he never loses his cool. And, Carroll was cut on the right eye in the dying seconds of the second round, but Carroll certainly won that round for me, so I had it 1-1. Going into the third round, it was a round where I really loved some of Tevin's shot picking. He would tuck up and time Carroll coming in. He was headhunting while Carroll was going for the body once again. The better shots were coming from Tevin Farmer, but the sheer work rate of Carroll and the pressure that he put on Tevin made me actually give the round to Jono. So maybe I'm one of those few people that had it 2-1 to Carroll. The fourth round, Carroll didn't necessarily have a bad round, but I felt the better shots came from Farmer, so it was 2-2 for me. In the fifth round, a brilliant round for Tevin Farmer. He was slick, he was speedy, he was accurate. Carroll seemed to run out of steam a little bit in that fifth round, which was funny, really, when you think about what happened in the next few rounds, which I'll get onto. But yeah, perhaps he ran out of steam, not due to exhaustion, but just taking a number of clean shots in that fifth round, and he was missing a lot. John O'Carroll, he's being made to miss in that fifth round. He did seem to feel Farmer's body shots more than he had done previously, and his gum shield also got knocked out by Farmer in that round. It seemed like he was perhaps starting to unravel, just perhaps, but no, I was completely wrong. But yeah, a round there for Farmer. In the sixth round, a clear Farmer round. He totally outclassed Jono. It was a brilliant display of boxing. Going into the second half of the fight, though, Tevin started backing Jono up for the first time in the fight, and it was an unbelievable effort from Carroll. He stepped up in class massively for this fight, and the difference in levels on paper was quite remarkable. Not to go off on a tangent, so to speak, but Tevin's world title defences, I don't know what the American people think about this, but I reckon a lot of American people are probably quite annoyed with his defences. I think has he had 3 defences? I think it was James Tennyson, who the Americans didn't know, John O'Carroll, who the Americans may have known simply due to the press conferences being fiery, and the other defence was it Francisco Fonseca. That is 3 awful defences, let's be honest. None of those 3 guys are what's considered to be world level, are they? Let's be honest. If you're an American boxing fan, who's John O'Carroll? Who is James Tennyson? Who is Fonseca? He got knocked out by Gervonta Davis. That's his claim to fame. But yeah, a good round there in the 7th round. Like I say, going off in another direction there, but a good round there for Tevin Farmer. 5-2 I had it going into the 8th. In the 8th, I actually gave it to Carroll. You could just see the work that he put in to win the round. It was nothing really heavy in terms of what he landed, but the sheer effort and the amount of punches, the volume, was enough to give him the round for me. His relentlessness was just incredible. 5-4 3. In the 9th round, that was probably where Carroll had his best round. I mean, Tevin either took the round off or was really feeling the pace. It was a clear Carroll round. It seemed like his second wind kicked in, but 5-4 I had it going into the 10th. In the 10th round, I felt on my scorecard it was a real important round at that point. I gave it to... I had Carroll winning the round, but I think in the last 30 seconds, Tevin was boxing and moving beautifully, and I think he just probably nicked it. It could have been a 10-10, but I think he probably just about nicked it, Tevin Farmer. So what's that? That is 6-4 after 10 rounds. In the 11th round, a big round for Farmer. It was a shame, really, because Jono started the round so well, and he just seemed to thin out as the round went on. Like I say, he was winning the round, but it turned around, and Tevin hurt Jono badly in that 11th round. Jono looked on the verge of actually being stopped. His legs were gone, and he was saved by the bell. But like I say, what a heart that Jono Carroll has. And then in the 12th round, it was now 7-4. In the 12th round, Jono needed a knockout. It wasn't really going to happen, was it? I think the 12th round probably could have gone either way. To be honest, I think if I had to edge it, it would have probably gone to Carroll, which would mean my scorecard would have been 7-5, which is a very close fight considering the jump up in class Jono had to make for this fight. It was a good effort. A lot of people had it very, very wide. I mean, listen, we all like lovely, beautiful, sweet science boxing, and Tevin has that. Jono Carroll was never going to outdo Tevin in that department, but the work rate, the punch volume, a lot of people don't like to score punches to the body for some reason. You can't be a good boxing judge and not score clean body shots. I mean, what the hell? But yeah, good fight, good effort from Jono, and his stocks go up from this. They really do. Brave Irishman there with a humongous set of nuts. Moving out now to the Memorial Center in Gifu, Japan, we got to see Kosi Tanaka move to 13-0, a successful defense of his WBO World Flyweight title against Ryoichi Taguchi, who's now 27-4 with 2 draws. Taguchi still never been stopped. I predicted that on last week's show. We didn't actually do the prediction league on that fight itself, but I said that'd probably go the distance in favour of Tanaka. Moving out now to the Oldham Leisure Centre in Lancashire, United Kingdom, we got to see over here Seb Eubank. He moved to 2-0, a points win over 4 rounds against Remigius Ziausis, who now has a record of 20 wins, 101 losses and 5 draws. Mark Heffron also returned on that bill there. He's now 22-1, a points win over 6 rounds against Serge Ambomo, who's now 6-10 with 1 draw. Moving out now to the Harvey Haddon Sports Village in Nottingham. A guy called Eko Esuman. I think he's from Botswana or something like that. But he's come over here. He's managed to win the English welterweight title. And it was a defence for him here against Tyrone Nurse, a man coming off 3 back-to-back losses. He seems to possibly be at the tail end of his career. Esuman was actually cut on his left eye in the 2nd round. And then Nurse was cut on his left eye in the 5th round. But it ended up being a close fight. A majority decision over 10 rounds in favour of Esuman. He keeps the English title. He's now 10-0, and that's now 4 back-to-back losses for Tyrone Nurse, 35-6 with 2 draws, 4 losses in a row, all by decision. 1 was a split, 1 was a majority, and the other 2 were unanimous. So yeah, perhaps he's coming to the end for him. Moving out now to the House of Blues in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. Friend of the show, Gary Spike O'Sullivan. I mean, he tweeted saying that 200,000 people, I'm sure it was 200,000 people, tuned in to watch him fight live on Facebook. That's incredible. Anyway, he moved to 30 wins. He's got the 3 losses. He took on Kiari Gray, who had a record of 16-4 with 12 knockouts. He's now 16-5. He got knocked out. A TKO in the 6th round there. A good win there for Mr. O'Sullivan, friend of the show. Moving out now to the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, USA. We're going to start with the undercard here. Charles Martin, 25-2 with 1 draw, former IBF Heavyweight World Champion. He took on a guy who was undefeated called Greg Corbin. He was 38 years of age. He was 15-0. yeah, Charles Martin was winning the fight, and then Greg Corbin got disqualified for repeated low blows in the 8th round of a scheduled 10, so he really ruined it for himself there. He loses his O by disqualification. Charles Martin now 26-2 with 1 draw. Also on the bill, which would be a good fight actually if they get it on down the line, Charles Martin and Chris Arreola, 37-5 with 1 draw. He took on Jean-Pierre Augustin, another undefeated man, 17-0 with 1 draw. A TKO in the 3rd round for Chris Arreola. Typical Chris Arreola type fight. He likes to just try and get the job done early. Especially when he takes on a guy who's relatively untested. I remember the job he did on Seth Mitchell all those years ago, and now against this guy here, Jean-Pierre Augustin, a man that didn't really have any signature wins on his record going in. I actually saw the odds for Chris Arreola to get a knockout in the 1st round. I think it was 33-1. The knockout in the 2nd round was 28-1, and a knockout in the 3rd round was 28-1. I think it was about 50p or £1 on the first 3 rounds, and of course he got it in that 3rd round. And it's to be expected, really. This guy was out of his depth. Chris Arreola, despite being quite old and he's long in the tooth, his best days are well and truly behind him now. He is dangerous for the first few rounds. I'd love to see him and Shannon Briggs get it on. I mean, they're both so dangerous for the first few rounds. But Chris Arreola, those odds were crazy for the first 3 rounds there. 38-5 with 1 draw. Arreola now is looking for a big fight on the back of this. I'm not quite sure who I'd like to see him in there with. Luis Nery moved to 29-0. He made his opponent retire on his stall after 4 rounds. His opponent, Joe Arroyo, now 18-3. He was down 4 times during the 4 rounds, so a good win there for Luis Nery. Completely dominated his man. It was a bit of a mismatch, really. David Benavidez, wow, 21-0 now. A knockout in the 2nd round against J. Leon Love, 24-3 with 1 draw. Both men were friends of the show. Love actually came out in that first round really aggressive. He really tried to apply the pressure, but Benavidez only obliged, and he was happy to trade with Love, which was obviously bad news for Love, and that was where the danger started. Benavidez hurt Love and buckled his legs a few times in that first round. The hand speed and power of Benavidez is ridiculous. I'd love to see him fight Callum Smith down the line. But yeah, the 2nd round, Benavidez did get the stoppage. He hit Love with a right hand, I believe it was, and he backed Love into the ropes, and Benavidez then just swarmed him with a barrage of unanswered punches, and the referee jumped in and stopped it. That left hook that Benavidez possesses is such a dangerous punch. The main event, though, for the IBF World Welterweight title, Errol Spence Jr., 25-0 now. He defeated Mikey Garcia. He denied him his 40th win. Mikey Garcia now 39-1. He jumped up 2 weight classes. He thought he was good enough. He didn't think the size would come into it. I thought he was good enough. You didn't, as you correctly predicted, at Errol Spence points win. That is what happened. I'm gutted because I love Mikey Garcia. And, a lot of people were laughing, thinking it's funny. I just can't understand how you would hate on Mikey Garcia. I mean, he doesn't avoid anyone. He's one of the best fighters in the world. He's gone up to fight a man that no one in the man's own weight division wants to fight. He's gone up there, dared to be great, and he came up short, but he didn't disgrace himself. The size was so much the factor in the fight. He didn't get stopped. He took bombs on his chin. He didn't go nowhere. He didn't really seem troubled at any point. I mean, the towel could have come in because he was taking a bit of a beating, but nothing was fazing him. I mean, he was taking the shots, and it was quite unbelievable. But how courageous was it from Mikey Garcia? What a fighter! I think his stocks probably will go up. He's lost his own now, but it's a shame. It was such a valiant performance, though, from Mikey Garcia. I'm absolutely gutted, but the size was just. It was just too much. And Spence, the work rate, he didn't stop all night throwing punches. The jab was a real problem for Mikey. He seemed like he couldn't get round the jab. And you can't really fault Errol, you can't really fault him. But once again, unfortunately, he gets a win over a guy who's smaller than him. I just want him to fight someone who's a legit 147, true 147 fighter. Please, just give it to us, please. I don't want to see him take another fight against a smaller guy. Round 1, though, Errol Spence, he wasn't really overcommitting at that point. He was working his jab. Everything came from the jab. Mikey didn't really even try to outland Errol. He probably threw about 4 shots max in that first round. It was a clear Spence round. Nothing telling landed at all, but it was a bit of a feeling out process kind of thing, a bit of a jab fest. The second round, the first half of the round, not much really happened, but Mikey did pick up the tempo and finally let his hands go towards the end of the round. I felt he probably stole the round. Again, nothing telling landed, really, and not many people agreed that Mikey won the round, but for me, 1-1 after 2. In the third round, things started heating up in that third. You'd have to give the round to Spence. The size factor already seemed to be playing a very important part in the fight. It was a big disadvantage for Mikey, so I had it 2-1 to Spence going into that fourth round. And like I say, Mikey, you know, I was a bit worried already after 3 rounds. He couldn't afford to let the early rounds slip away from him, because what's the plan? Is he going to try and stop Errol late on? I just think that was a bit too risky, but he seemed like he was just letting the rounds slip away. There was no real desperation from him. Going into the fourth round, a big round for Errol Spence. It was all Spence. Once again, it was worrying signs for Mikey. He was too small. He wasn't throwing in bunches. He was probably worried about being countered, but his singular shot work just wasn't enough to match what Spence was doing. Spence was able to commit to a combination, probably without worrying too much about what was coming back at him. And Mikey's chin got checked a few times, and he took the shots well. He's a brave and hard man, Mikey, and like I say, he did have some success in the dying seconds, but it certainly wasn't enough to win the round. The fifth round, both men had their moments, but again, Spence did enough to win it. It was the size difference once again that played a part. When Spence popped out that jab, it was so difficult for Garcia to do anything, really. The sixth round, it was a close round. Honestly, being generous, it probably went to Mikey. Very generous, it went to Mikey. He once again took some bombs, but he gave it back and he gritted it out. He bit down on the gum shield like a true Mexican madman that he is, and he traded with Spence in that sixth. In the seventh, a clear Spence round. In the eighth, Mikey took some bombs. It was sad to see at that point. I mean, Errol was outlanding Mikey massively, and he was starting to put a dent in him, whereas Mikey couldn't really put a dent in Spence the whole fight. But still, like I say, good effort from Mikey. A chess match most of the time. Mikey's such a clever fighter. The ring IQ is unbelievable, but Errol Spence didn't need to match him in ring IQ. The size made up for the difference in the two. And in the ninth round, Spence started to walk Mikey down. There was an argument really for a 10-8 round. It was all Spence. He was really going to work. It was worrying signs. In the 10th round, once again, another big round for Spence. There was an argument. His corner, this is Garcia's corner. They should probably pull him out at that point. You know, like I say, it was shocking though to see the chin of Garcia, you know, hold up like that. Some people have said for a while that he's got like a secret glass chin. Well, he proved his chin, and I can't see him being stopped by anyone under 147. I mean, he took shots from a man that most people say is one of the biggest punchers at 147. So what would have to happen? Would he have to fight a 154 pounder to get stopped? I mean, this guy's chin is insane. Don't come at me with any glass chin accusations. I mean, that was unbelievable. You know, he took the shots that welterweights can't seem to take. In the 11th round, a awful round for Mikey Garcia. He was getting bullied around the ring. He was too brave for his own good. I was proud to see him seeming like he was going to go the distance, but, you know, it was a type of fight where you could potentially lose years off your career. It was a real one-sided beatdown. And in the 12th round, another Errol Spence round. But yeah, take nothing away from Spence. He did what he had to do. I just need him to fight a true 147 pounder though, because like I said on last week's show, you can't really move him up in the pound for pound rankings or the welterweight rankings after beating a lightweight here, can you? It wasn't a fight on fair ground, really, was it? You know, it was a bit of a lose-lose for Errol Spence going in. I understand that, you know, but Mikey Garcia, some people say he didn't really have anything to lose. I think he did. I think he lost a lot of pride there. I think he was absolutely gutted, but he still showed his class in that post-fight interview. If you haven't realised already, I'm quite biased to Mikey Garcia. I love Mikey to death. But yeah, that was it for that one. Moving out now to the final bill to mention. It happened at the Madison Square Garden Theatre in New York, USA. It was on Sunday night. We got to see Paddy Barnes, Ayaz. Well, he looked to pick up win number 6. It wasn't to be for him. He's now 5-2. He lost to Oscar Mojica, a man he was expected to walk through. Mojica was 11-5 with one draw. It ended up being a split decision over 6 rounds in favour of Mojica. Quite surprising to see one judge even give it to Paddy Barnes, really. It was quite one-sided. It was close, don't get me wrong. It was probably a 4-2 kind of fight. At an absolute push. And a bit of a robbery. You could have probably had it a draw. But it wasn't to be. And the reason why I say it was one-sided is because Mojica should have got a knockdown. I think it was in the second or third round. Paddy Barnes took a knee. It wasn't even like it was a dodgy thing, a dodgy punch. The referee didn't really see it, and then he went down and said it was no knockdown. Paddy Barnes voluntarily took a knee, and the referee didn't give it a 10-8 round. It probably ended up being a 10-9 round in Barnes' favour. Unbelievable. But anyway, Barnes did get back up, and he fought like a real Irish warrior once again. He did himself proud. He got back up and fought like an absolute madman, and he was extremely desperate from that point onwards, and you can't really fault him for what he did. He got up and fought well, but yeah, he didn't win the fight. He admitted that in the ring afterwards, and he's even toying now with the possibility of retirement, which is a bit of a shame to see, to be honest. He is a friend of the show, Paddy Barnes. And topping the bill, Michael Conlan on St. Paddy's Day and St. Paddy's Day weekend. He moved to 11-0. It was for the WBO Intercontinental Featherweight title. He got a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Ruben Hernandez, who's now 24-4 with 2 draws. Another win there for Conlan. He banks 10 important rounds. But that is about it for the review part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 1, the last thing to do is to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning WBC Super-Middleweight Champion of the world. It is, of course, Mr. Andre Dirrell. Anthony, welcome to the show, sir.
How are you doing? How y'all doing?
We're all good, my friend, and we're even better now speaking with you. So, Anthony, you're fresh off that win over Avni Yildirim 4 weeks back. The fight seemed to have a bit of a strange ending, I think it's fair to say. The ringside doctor stopped it. It went to the judges' scorecards, a technical decision in favour of yourself after 10 rounds. Please talk us through the fight. It was a good fight while it lasted.
Yeah, he headbutted me a couple of times. I think I was just... everybody can see the out punch that I put up. I out punched him. I landed him. And I think I was winning the fight by a little bit more than what they had it, but we got the job done. He headbutted me twice. I don't think that he knew that he headbutted me, but you can clearly see it. You clearly see a headbutt twice, so I got the victory. There was a little upset, but I got the job done.
And the controversial part of the fight was probably that one judge actually had Yildirim in front by 6 rounds at the time of the stoppage. The other 2 judges had it 6-4 in your favour. What were your thoughts on that scorecard there from Jürgen Langos?
Yeah, that was it was kind of weird, but I think you get judges like that. I don't know what he was watching. I don't know how he was so different from the other judges, but you got to look at how the judges sit. They sit on each side of the ring, so they see 3 different perspectives from the fight. But I don't think in any of the perspectives that they see me losing that fight. But like I say, it happens. We got to get better at officiating. But I got the victory, and that's what it's about.
Now, I didn't actually know that Jürgen Langos was a judge in that fight. I've only just found that out about an hour ago. And I just want to tell you this, and this is quite staggering. I actually did my homework on Jürgen Langos a few weeks ago because he gave a real questionable scorecard then. Only 2 times in 450 fights has he actually scored the fight to an away fighter coming to Germany. Or in this case, he's gone with Yildirim pretty much to your hometown. So, it's almost like you're the away fighter because I feel like he's so much in the other fighter's corner. It is very bizarre. I think that judge has committed too many dodgy scorecards, but we'll leave that there. The news is, Anthony, that your next fight must be against David Benavidez. Is that actually 100% true?
I'm not for sure. We're still working out the details. I'm not too for sure, but like I say, I think I said this multiple times to, people that did interviews with me. I'm chasing the money now. I got the championship. I'm a 2-time world champion. I think I deserve a big payday, and I think David Benavidez will get it. I'm trying to get the thing done if we can get it done, but, that's the plan.
And, talking about that, you're a 2-time world champion. I looked once again at your resume, and your resume over the last few years has been probably one of the strongest in the super middleweight division. I mean, you've been fighting good fighter after good fighter, way back to the Sakio Bika fights. What did you make of Benavidez's win on the weekend? He looked pretty good, to be honest.
He looked good. He looked how he was supposed to look with Jalen Love. Jalen's not a big puncher. He's not a big boxer. We've seen his last his last fight with Peter Quillen, where he ran and survived the whole fight. But David Benavidez did what he was supposed to do and got him out of there. I thought he should have got him out of there in the first round. Jay Leon was really hurt. Thought he should have got him out in the first round. But like I say, he got there nonetheless, and he got the job done.
And I want to get your take on Caleb Plant. I mean, obviously your brother had the 2 fights against Uzcategui, and Uzcategui was a very tricky customer for your brother. And because of that, I thought Uzcategui would probably walk through Caleb Plant, but Caleb Plant beat him quite comfortably. What's your take on him as a champion?
You know what? I was commentating that fight. You know what I told everybody? I said if Caleb Plant can box and hit him with some substantial out the gate, he'd get his respect. And he did that. I mean, he banged with the banger and he boxed when he wanted to. And that was the key of winning. You know, he hit angles. He knocked Uzcategui down a couple times. And that was the key. I mean, he looked excellent. He looked like a real champion in that fight, as I told him after the fight.
Yeah, he truly did. And talking of your brother, how is he? What's next for him, Anthony?
He's good. I think he's moving up to 175 pounds. I think he'll feel more comfortable at that weight. I think it was just the weight loss getting to him. You know, 168 pounds, it's challenging on your body, especially when you get up there in age and you've been doing it for a long time. Your body just don't want to do it no more. So I think he'll go up and be comfortable there.
Okay, and you talk about wanting that money fight. Who do you see as, you know, being that guy to make that mega money? It seems like Canelo's obviously gone back down to 160. Obviously, that would have been the mega money fight. Who is the mega money fight? Is it Callum Smith? Who is it?
I mean, I don't know. It could be Callum Smith or it could be David Benavidez. You know, people show up for him. People show up for Callum Smith. It just all depends. If you can give me that money, that's the way I'm going towards. But I think, like I said, I think I deserve the money shot. The 2-time world champion. I've been through a lot of wars, and I think I deserve it. So that's definitely what I'm looking for.
Okay, so it seems a little bit too early right now to know when your next fight will likely take place or where it will be. That's fine. What are your thoughts on the other fighters in the super middleweight division, Anthony? Where would you perhaps rank them from best to least best? I'm guessing you'd have yourself at number 1. Who's number 2, 3, 4, and 5?
You know what? I can't really say. You know, you got to be in the ring to really understand how these fighters fight. On the outside looking in, I'll have to rate. It's close between Benavidez and Callum Smith. I'll put both of them at second. It's close between them two, and then you have to go with the other champions in the weight classes. From Caleb Plant, he looked excellent his last fight. To Ramirez, I think he's vacating his title, so it's iffy there. But I mean, it's a lot of warriors at 168. I think 168 is one of the biggest divisions in boxing right now. It's heavyweight, welterweight, and then I think it's a super middleweight. So like I say, I can't really rate the people just offhand, you know, but that'd be a rating if I'm just on the outside looking in.
Yeah, for sure. And 2 big name fighters, especially over here, but they did make their marks over in the US also, have recently retired. We've seen the retirement of George Groves. We've seen the retirement of James DeGale. What's your thoughts on those 2 guys retiring? Good fighters leaving the division, big names, like I say.
Well, James DeGale, 2-time world champion. He won the title. He won the title twice, yes, right? Am I correct? Yep, he won the title twice, and I mean, he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish in boxing. He won an Olympic medal, and then he won a world title. So he did what he accomplished in boxing. And then George Groves, he was a good, rugged fighter. He was a slick puncher. But I think he was he going out too quick, if you ask me. But you know what I'm saying, I can't judge his body. Yeah. You know, people are made different, so you got to judge. You know, you got to side with the person of what he wanted to do with his decision. His decision was to retire. You got to respect that.
Yeah, very well said. And coming down to the final 2 questions now, Anthony, I want to ask you, I'm guessing you must have sparred some big names over the years. Who are some of the guys that you've done rounds with in the gym?
Oh, shoot. You know what I just did? Like I don't know if these really count, because I spar heavyweights. I bring cruiserweights to my camp and spar. I don't spar super middleweights. I spar light heavyweights and cruiserweight. but I sparred Brian Jennings, and I think he was just playing. I mean, he's a heavyweight, but I told him to hit me a little hard because I want to, that's how I'm getting prepared for these guys. But I can't really remember. I sparred with some good guys. I really did. I can't think of everybody, but I sparred with some good guys. That's just one of them.
No, I always ask that question to people that we speak to from overseas, and it's quite surprising how many of them go completely mind blank and go, do you know what? I can't think of more than one guy. It's funny.
Yeah.
But I want to put you on the spot a little bit here. I like to ask this question to everybody that we speak to from overseas, Anthony. Who would you say is your favourite UK fighter from any era? It can be a guy that's retired a long time ago. It can be a guy that's still fighting now. Any era.
From the UK,
I can throw a few names out to help you out. Some of the popular answers.
Yeah, please.
You've got the likes
please.
of.
Nope. You know what? I like Joe Kawasaki.
Yeah, very popular answer.
Joe Kawasaki was a good one. I think Joe Kawasaki. I mean, he did everything in the sport. He was just champion. Like, he did what he wanted to do in boxing and retired undefeated.
46-0, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's about it really for the questions, Anthony. Just before I let you go, I wanted to really give you an opportunity perhaps to send out a message to anyone that supports you from over here in the UK. I know that the UK fans take to the Dirrell brothers, not just yourself, also Andre. What's your message to the guys that support you over here?
I appreciate your support. Keep supporting me. I'm trying to get to UK soon. Honestly, me and my wife been talking about coming over there. Maybe I'll do an event while I'm over there, visit a few gyms. But thank you for you guys' support. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Right, listen, Anthony, it truly has been a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. We'll keep an eye out for an announcement hopefully soon, and we'll catch up sometime in the near future.
Appreciate it.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Ayaz, take it away. What you got?
The EBU have named Joy Joyce as the mandatory challenger for Agathe Caballero's European title.
Yeah, Caballero, obviously a man that beat Derek Chisora on points in Monaco. He just recently beat Andre Rudenko just a couple of weeks ago. And he's a young guy. I think he's only 26. It's a step in the right direction, really, for Joyce. The only problem is Caballero's not really a big name, but he is ranked with all the... I think he's ranked with maybe 2 or 3 sanctioning bodies, so he's got some nice rankings. Maybe Joe Joyce or beat him and take those rankings. To be honest with you, if I'm being honest, Caballero, I've been talking to Michael Hunter, and he's kind of been saying, which heavyweights would you like to see me fight, etc. And I wanted Michael Hunter to fight Caballero because I think Michael Hunter would obliterate Caballero, and Caballero's actually ranked in the 2 sanctioning organizations that Michael Hunter's not ranked in, so he's ranked in the other 2. So let's just say Michael's ranked with the WBC and IBF or something like that, or the WBC and WBA, and this guy is ranked with the WBO and IBF, so beating him, then he'd be ranked with all 4 of them, Michael Hunter. But it's just not looking like that's going to happen, unfortunately, but he wanted that fight. But yeah, Caballero, Joyce, if it happens, I think Joyce wins. I think Joyce is just too big for Caballero. It's too fluid for Caballero. I don't think Caballero would be able to deal with the pace of the fight. But Caballero's a good fighter, by the way. Let's not knock him. I mean, he's a good fighter. It could be quite interesting because Caballero actually, from what I saw in the Chisora fight, he throws a lot more than most heavyweights. And obviously Joe Joyce, the juggernaut, he throws 1,000,000 punches. People are going to laugh at that. Not the fastest punches, but he's got the output. He throws a lot of punches. Let me choose my words right. So that fight would be quite interesting, I think. But yeah, Joe Joyce wins it for me.
Carl Frampton has signed a co-promotional deal with Top Rank and Frank Warren.
Yeah, it's good to see he's still working with Frank Warren. He seems like he's done this deal now with Top Rank, as you mentioned. It seems like all of Frank's big fighters are going half and half with him and Bob Arum. It's a bit of a shame for UK fans, I'd say. Obviously, Tyson Fury, Carl Frampton, I'm not sure, but there's a lot of rumours about Billy Joe Saunders also doing that kind of thing, so it'd be a bit of a shame if that does happen. But I'm guessing that the Oscar Valdez fight will probably be happening probably before the end of the year. So we'll have to wait and see. Oscar Valdez, I'll definitely get him back on the show if that fight does happen. He's a friend of the show. He's got a pet called Steve the Alligator, and we like Oscar Valdez. So yeah, good move really for Frampton. Seems like he's coming to the tail end of his career, to be honest. Quite clearly, the Leo Santa Cruz rematch won't be happening now because Bob Arum's involved, but yeah, hopefully he gets a nice couple of paydays before he decides to him them up.
Dubois will headline a show at Wembley Arena on 27th of April.
Yeah, April 27th at the Wembley Arena. He takes on a guy called Richard Lartey, a fighter from Ghana, 14-1 with 11 knockouts. His one loss, he actually retired on his stall after 5 rounds against a guy who's still undefeated, who's 12-0, a Swiss heavyweight who actually hasn't fought for 4 years. But that's another matter. So, it's not the biggest kind of fight out there for Dubois. It's another fight I'm expecting he's going to win, and in good style. Also on that bill, we get to see Lerone Richards, 11-0. He's in a fight against Tommy Langford, 21-3. I really like that fight. That one's for the vacant Commonwealth and vacant WBO International Super-Middleweight titles. So Lerone Richards finally gets a big fight. It's been a long time coming. Zach Chelly takes on Jimmy Smith for the Southern Area Super-Middleweight title. Zach Chelly, real good fighter. Sonny Edwards returns on that bill, and so does Jack Catterall. So it should be a good night of boxing. I'm really looking forward to that one. Is that it for the news, Ayaz, yeah?
Yes, that's it for the news.
Thank you very much, Ayaz. Right, moving now to the preview part of the show, the final real part of the show. We're going to start in Chile, which is a weird place to start. I don't think we've ever started in Chile before. At the Gran Arena Monticello in San Francisco de Mostazao, we get to see a guy here called Miguel Gonzalez, 29-1. His one loss came to Paul Butler. He takes on Andrew Maloney, the twin brother of Jason Maloney, the man that crashed out at the World Boxing Super Series when he lost to Emmanuel Rodriguez, is it? The guy that's fighting in UA. In Scotland. But anyway, yeah, a 12-round contest here. Miguel Gonzalez and Andrew Maloney. Good fight. It's gone under the radar. Moving out now to Russia at the Serpukov. Fedor Chudinov, former opponent of George Groves, 18-2. He's in a 10-round contest against Wuzhati Nualang, who's got 11 wins and 2 losses, a 10-rounder there. Moving out now to the Sport Hall in Hungary. This is a strange one. You wouldn't believe me if I told you this. Prince Patel, 18-0 now with 1 draw. He's in an 8-rounder against Selimani Bangaiza, who's got a record of 15-5. Also on the bill, part of his world tour, Ashley Fiafane turns up, the former Mayweather promotion star. His record 46-8 with 1 draw. He's in an 8-rounder against Salty Fries he's fighting, 7-5. That's an 8-rounder there. Also on the bill, friend of the show, Ashley Fiafane's a friend of the show, but also another friend of the show, heavyweight Mark Damori. He's on it. He's in his 40th fight, 35-2 with 2 draws, an 8-rounder against Laszlo Fekete, who's 4-2. Boy, oh boy. Anyway, moving out now to Poland at the Hala Sportowa. We get to see over here Krzysztof Włodarczyk, 56-4 with 1 draw. He's in a 10-rounder against Alexandru Jur, who's got a record of 18-2. Moving out now to the Leicester Arena in United Kingdom. This one's going to be on BT Sport and on ESPN+. We get to see over here the brother of Tyson Fury, Tommy Fury, 1-0, undefeated under the guidance of Ricky Hatton. He's in a 4-rounder against Maxims Ergakovs, who's 0-3. Willie Hutchinson, friend of the show, he's on the bill. His record 6-0, 6-rounder, no opponent just yet. Leon Woodstock, 11-1. His opponent yet to be announced. That's an 8-rounder there. CJ Challenger, 9-0. He fights for the vacant Midlands area super welterweight title against Kyle Haywood, 8-0. I believe he had to quit his day job to train harder to try and win this fight. Sammy Maxwell, 10-0. He fights for the vacant WBO European Women's Super Lightweight title against Kelvin Dotel, who's 14-4. I do want to see Sam Maxwell in some big fights in the very near future. Sam Bowen, 14-0, takes on Jordan McCrory. That's a 12-rounder for Bowen's British Super Featherweight title. Jordan McCrory, 17-4 with one draw. Moving out now to the Copper Box Arena in London, United Kingdom. Over here we have the first defence of Charlie Edwards' WBC World Flyweight title. His record 14-1. He takes on former sparring partner Angel Moreno, 19-2 with two draws, a 12-round contest. We've gone to the predictions. Ayaz, how do you see it?
I think it's going to be a very tough fight for Charlie because obviously it's his first defence of his world title. But if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to win by Charlie on points.
Charlie on points, okay. I'm going to agree, actually. So do the listeners. Moreno's never been stopped, and the fact that they've done rounds together, I think when Charlie was getting ready to take on John Real Casemiro, that tells me that they were probably... not sparring to try and take each other's heads off. And sometimes when you've sparred with a guy, you know how he is and you know what to expect, so to speak. And for that reason, nothing kind of shocks you about him. But then again, I think Charlie Edwards has come on since then. He definitely has, of course. So could be interesting. I hope he gets a stoppage. Also on the bill, Josh Buatsi, 9-0. He's in search of win number 10. It's for the vacant British light heavyweight title. He takes on Liam Conroy, 16-3 with one draw. Obviously, the British was vacated by Callum Johnson. We're going to go to the predictions on that one also, Ayaz. Good fight, Buatsi and Conroy. How do you see it?
I think this will be a good, decent fight for Joshua Buatsi. Obviously, Buatsi is the next rising star in boxing. So if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with Joshua Buatsi by knockout.
Yeah, I think if Buatsi is the real deal, I think if the hype around him is real, then I think he gets Conroy out of there. So I'm going to agree with you there, Ayaz, and so do the listeners. Oh boy, 94% of the voters have gone with Buatsi by knockout. That is insane. Also on the bill, Lawrence Okolie defends his British cruiserweight title. I think Camacho brings the Commonwealth belt to the fight, but Okolie 11-0, Wadi Camacho 21-7. Once again, we're going to the predictions on this, Ayaz. I think that Wadi Camacho is not going to try and box Okolie like Chamberlain did, like the other guy did, whose name has eluded me at the moment on the Joshua Povetkin undercard. Who did it? Matty Askin, that was it. I don't think he's going to try and box like those guys did. I think he will come and try and have a fight. I think it'll be quite fun while it lasts, but ultimately I see Okolie getting the stoppage. How do you see it, Ayaz? The listeners, 93% of them have also gone Okolie by knockout. I guess you're...
I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm going to go for Lawrence Okolie by knockout.
Okay. Moving down the bill, the return of Lewis Ritson, 17-1. He's been sparring David Avanesian. I'd like to see that one. Apparently the spar was unbelievable. Anyway, he's in a 10-rounder against German Argentino Benitez, 21-3. Let me just see this guy. Has he boxed anyone? Let's just have a quick little look. As you know, on this show, we don't really take little breaks to have little looks. It's very, very rare. But this guy, I'm sure I've seen him before. 3 losses, 1 by knockout. It came to someone I've never heard of. So yeah, he's looking at his record, no one of note on that record at all. So Lewis Ritson, you'd expect to get the win, although it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like after obviously losing his last fight to Patera. Benitez is not really a banger. He's got 9 wins from his 9 knockouts from his 21 wins. Also on the bill, Jason Quigley, friend of the show, 15-0. He's in a 10-rounder, no opponent just yet. That's it for that one. Moving out now to the Hangar in Costa Mesa, California, USA. This one's going to be on ESPN. It's a top-ranked show. Jesse Magdaleno, his first return to the ring, I believe, since losing to Isaac Dogbe, which was about a year ago now. 25-1. He takes on Rico Ramos, 30-5. That's a 10-rounder there. Kubrat Pulev, 26-1, takes on Bogdan Dinu, 18-1. Dino in his last fight obviously got stopped by Jarrell Big Baby Miller. That's a 10-rounder there. there. Also the brother, the younger brother of Kubrat Pulev, Tervel Pulev, 12-0. He takes on Mitch Williams, 16-7 with 3 draws. That's an 8-rounder there. Moving out now to the final bill to mention, an interesting main event here. We're just going to mention the two. I'll tell you what, we'll mention the top 3 fights. This one's on USA Fox Sports 1. I don't think it's going to be shown in the UK, unfortunately. It's at the MGM National Harbour in Oxon Hill, Maryland, USA. Lorenzo Simpson, fantastic amateur, 2-0. I think both wins by knockout. He takes on Earl Henry, who's 0-1 with 1 draw. That's a 4-rounder there. Moving up the bill, Anthony Peterson, 37-1. He's in a 10-rounder against Argenis Mendes, 25-5 with 1 draw. And the main event, good fight, Ayaz. I'm going to come to you with the prediction here, and it's a better fight than you may think. Think about it for a couple seconds, and then you'll realise it is actually a real interesting clash of styles. Lamont Peterson, 35-4 with 1 draw, coming off that loss, I believe it was, to Errol Spence. I don't think he's fought in the meantime. He takes on Sergei Lipinets, 14-1. Friend of the show, former IBF 140 world champion. He was dethroned by Mikey Garcia in his sole defeat. 12-round contest. It's interesting because obviously Peterson's loss came to Spence, and of course Lipinets' loss came to Garcia. They fought last weekend. These guys are fighting this weekend. How do you see that one, Ayaz? Interesting clash of styles.
I think it's going to be a very decent fight for Sergei Lipinets versus Lamont Peterson. I mean, obviously, we've seen Sergei Lipinets fight Mikey Garcia previously. If I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with Lamont Peterson to win by points.
Do you know what? The listeners have gone with Lipinets but on points. 60% of the listeners have gone Lipinets on points. And I am with you, Ayaz. I think Peterson might just have the boxing IQ, a few more tricks up his sleeve than Lipinets. I don't think Lipinets will have the power to knock Peterson out. I mean, it took Errol Spence a long time to get, he hurt Peterson multiple times and he still actually didn't knock him out. His corner pulled him out. Obviously, Peterson got knocked out by Matisse, but he had freakish power, and Lipinets doesn't really have that kind of power like those guys. So I don't think Lipinets gets the stoppage, and I just think Peterson is going to have too many ideas for him. So I think Peterson will just nick it on points. It'll probably be quite close. I think Lipinets is quite relentless. He's a tough guy. So I think it will be very interesting while it lasts, and I think it does last the full distance. I think Peterson just about gets it, but like I say, the listeners are going with Lipinets on points. And just before we wrap up the show and bring in our final guest, just before we wrap up part 2, I just want to revisit the predictions from last week, Ayaz. I've got to say here, you actually won the prediction league in terms of that week. I went with Garcia on points. That didn't happen. The listeners thought that Spence would get the knockout. That didn't happen. But you went with the very unlikely pick of Spence on points. It happened. You gained a point there. And then we all went with Benavidez by knockout. He got that over Jalen Love in the second round. So 2 points game for you, Ayaz. 1 for myself and 1 for the listeners. So very well done to you there, Ayaz. A little clap from me. But that is it for the show, pretty much. That's it for all the talking anyway. The last thing to do, don't tune out just yet. The last thing to do is to welcome our second and final guest just before we wrap up the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF Super-Featherweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Steve Forbes. Steve, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
It's a pleasure to have you on, Steve. I do just want to take a quick trip down memory lane before getting on to the latest news with you. Obviously, you turned pro back in December 1996. The biggest night of your pro career, though, I'm guessing, had to be December 3rd, 2000. Tell us about the fight, please.
Yes, I fought the very tough and durable John the Beast Brown out of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Very tough guy who's been in there with a lot of tough guys. And, we fought for the vacant IBF Super-Featherweight Championship. And I was behind in that fight. I was losing going into the 8th round and hit him on the ear, ruptured his eardrum, and I was champion that night. So that's one of my great memories of, it was a dream as a kid, so that was big.
It certainly was. And, sometimes people say to win a world title, you sometimes need that stroke of luck. Obviously, you mentioned there you were behind, going into the 8th round. In the 8th round, the doctor stopped it. John Brown's ear was bleeding. And, you know, you did give John Brown the rematch, and that was really your chance to kind of, you know, wipe away the controversy, if you like. You were able to outpoint him in the rematch over 12 rounds. I'm sure that felt very satisfying to get the win, and it no longer looked at as a lucky win.
Yeah, no, it was. And I think, you know, I don't believe I would have been able to live with myself being that I won a title that way, you know. So I thought the rematch, you know, was definitely needed. And I wanted to clear the air and say, you know what, I'm going to come back focused. I learned a lot. And, you know, I wanted to beat him fair and square without any controversy.
And excellently, you truly did. You know, you had a fantastic career. You've mixed it with many good fighters over the years, the likes of Cornelius Bundridge, a man that's been on this show before, Oscar De La Hoya, Andre Berto. The list goes on. Who would you say was the best fighter that you fought in a pro ring, Steve?
Oh, probably Oscar De La Hoya. You know what? I didn't get to fight Shane though. I always wanted to, but De La Hoya, I would say probably the best fighter of them all. You know, as far as, you know, his, you know, Olympic gold medalist, multiple, you know, championships he won, the big left hook they talked about, which, you know, he does have a very good left hook. But as far as, I think the highlight of my career, I would say, was that fight and just being in there where I wasn't intimidated or anything like that. And, you know, his stature as a, you know, they have champions and they're super champions. I believe his career, he was one of those super champions because wherever he fought, whenever he fought, he demanded, you know, people paid attention. So I would say he was the best guy I fought.
And in terms of sparring, I mean, you sparred some of the best fighters. I mean, you're one of the few guys that's been in there with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. What was that like? That must have been unbelievable.
Oh, it was great. Floyd Mayweather is like a scientist in there. You know, him and I, you know, we turned pro together, and I knew him since, you know, we were about 16. I first met him when we were 16, and I spent a lot of time with him when we were 19. He turned pro, I turned pro. I slept on Uncle Roger's couch, and him and I have probably had the most rounds of anybody in my career that I could say that I sparred with. Floyd and I have hundreds of rounds together. I mean, we would spar. It was always competitive because we would start off sparring 4 rounds, and then he would mention, well, let's go another round. And then I would say, well, let's go another round. So we end up doing 12 rounds, and they would have to stop us. They would have to stop us from sparring because we would keep trying to out. But we were pushing each other. It was really good. And, of course, Manny Pacquiao, you know, is a phenom himself, you know, relentless energy. You know, he had a very fast pace, and also got a chance to spar with Canelo Alvarez.
Wow.
Matter of fact, when he fought Shane Mosley, yeah, I sparred with him. He was working a lot more on his technical boxing. You know, he didn't really try to go at a fast pace or anything, and just really wanted to work on the technical boxing, which is smart. I mean, it's suiting him well right now. He's looking great. You know, he's probably the face of the sport right now. And yeah, it's been a lot of different guys that I got a chance to work with, and it was fun. You know, definitely learning, and I definitely helped them in some of their fights. It was great.
And those 3 names, Canelo, Floyd, and Pacquiao, are those the 3 biggest names you'd say that you've sparred with over the years?
Well, also Ricky Hatton. I came out to the UK and then in Manchester and worked with Ricky Hatton. He was getting ready to fight Jose Luis Castillo, and came over there to work with him. We did a lot of good body work and stuff like that. Marcos Maidana, Eric Morales. I mean, I can keep going. Kennedy McKinney. So many different guys. I mean, because Las Vegas, you know, I turned pro there. It was a hotbed for all the guys to come, and you know, I went there and I knew I could work with all these guys that I would put myself in a position to win a championship. So, you know, I got a chance to work with all those guys, and you know, and it was it was kind of like, a normal Monday or Tuesday. Those guys are in the gym. You get a chance to work with different guys. Diego Corrales and I were really, really good buddies. Freddie Norwood, when he was champion, we used to spar all the time. Stevie Johnston. I mean, it's so many different fighters and champions would come through Las Vegas and work out the couple weeks before their fight. So I got a chance to work out with all those guys.
Oh, that's amazing, man. It really is. I love hearing these types of stories. And obviously in boxing, there's many nicknames that boxers are given to try and emphasize how good they are, how tough they are. But your nickname, 2 pounds, it's a very personal reason as to why that's your nickname. Please explain to those that don't know why 2 pounds is the nickname for you.
Yeah, when I was born, I weighed 2 pounds. It's funny about the nickname. At first, I didn't like it. But everybody in my family calls me 2 pounds. Everybody, all my friends, the neighborhood I grew up in. And so I would sneak to the boxing gym because my grandma wasn't really too happy about me boxing. And so I would sneak to the gym, and the gym was right around the corner from where we lived at. And she would come in there and look through the windows. And one day she came in there and she says, 2 pound, what are you doing? And everybody says, they say 2 pound, and that kind of stuck. The long story short was my grandma allowed me to box because she talked to the coach, and he said, this guy has a lot of potential. You got to keep him in the gym. He's not getting in trouble. And so she became my biggest fan. But, yeah, the 2 pound name stuck. I tried to change it. I wanted to be Sensational Steve. I mean, all these different names. Everybody called me 2 pounds. So I said, you know what? I need to keep this name.
I want to tell you this. There is a heavyweight boxer right now, still undefeated. And when he was born, weighed only 1 pound. I'm going to give you a couple of guesses. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, I already know. It is Tyson Fury.
That's it. Amazing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew it. It's a special breed of person, that heart. Yeah, Tyson Fury. I recall hearing that a long time ago.
Yeah, man.
And I said, man, that's incredible. I was 2 pounds, and that was, unbelievable to hear, especially because, there's not all the medical stuff that they have now. And to hear that he was 1 pound, wow,
It is
yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy. So Steve, getting back onto your career, your last win was in 2010 against a guy who was 56 and 55 and 2 draws. Most of his wins and losses came by knockout. Quite a crazy fighter, really. He's still fighting, actually, that same guy. But back to what I was saying. Since that win in 2010, you had 6 back-to-back losses between 2011 and 2014. Most people would view that and say you were certainly on the decline at that stage. Now you're 42 years of age. You haven't boxed since 2014, but you're back in the ring on April 6th. You're back from this 4.5-year layoff. Tell us more, Steve. Why return to the ring?
Well, I would say also, too, with the losses, there have been some controversy in a lot of those fights.
Very true.
Yeah, and I think I believe I understand boxing. The way it works is you want to get a guy kind of, get rid of him. Let's start adding some losses. And what happens is, I'll fight against guys that's promoted by the house promoter. You're not going to get it. I had a fight in Florida against Johan Perez. He was a former WBA interim champion. It was televised here in the U.S. One judge had it a draw. The other 2 judges had it for him. This was in 2013, I want to say. Everybody there thought I won the fight. I thought I won the fight. Not going to get it. A lot of these fights have been really close where, I don't get the benefit of the doubt. And so what made me say, maybe I should. I'm going to take a rest first. I was in training camp with Floyd Mayweather for his fight against Andre Dirrell. And, people came to watch us spar. And after the first day of us sparring, everybody was really quiet. Nobody said anything. And Floyd said to me, he said, you know what, you could still do this, man. He says, yeah, you got some losses on your record, but I know how this sport works. If you're not promoted by the promoter, you're not going to get it. And, and I've always known that. So, I've always kind of said, let me see what I can do. I'm going to get myself in condition. I would have to be my own promoter. And that's what I thought about. I said, I would have to be my own promoter. I want to give my body a rest. I want to see how I feel. And, it wasn't a guarantee that I was going to come back and fight. But so I started working out with a lot of guys. And, I kind of got this thing in my head. I said, well, let me see what I can do. So I started doing a lot of sparring, and, I felt pretty good in there, and my speed was good and everything was good. And then I've always thought about my life. I've always been an underdog in everything I've done. I've always been kind of written off. When I turned pro, I didn't even turn pro in my home state because nobody would give me fights. They didn't think I can do it. So I went to Las Vegas. 4 years later, I'm a world champion. After that, I got stripped of the title because, I couldn't make the weight anymore. So a couple of years later, I'm on the Contender. I'm 20 pounds heavier, fighting on that show, 20 pounds heavier at 150. People said they thought that I was crazy. I'm not a puncher, but I made it to the finals of that show. So I get to fight Oscar De La Hoya. People think I'm insane. I'm going to get knocked out. I'm too small. Oscar De La Hoya went home with a broken eye socket. So I think I'm one of those guys, whenever my back is really against the wall and I have some control, I think it kind of changes things. And, yeah, I understand, I've lost some fights, back to back or whatever. There have been some controversy in there. Yes, I'm 42, but I believe that the route that I'm taking and the way I'm going about it, I think is going to be quite interesting. Of course, I care about my safety. That's my most important thing. And if I couldn't do it, my family wouldn't let me do it, because I'm doing pretty good as a promoter here in my hometown. But I have this itch to want to try to do it my way. I've always wanted to be my own promoter, and I never was able to be one because I was always tied in contracts. But, I can now. And if I go about it the right way, see how I feel this first match, and, we'll see what happens. A lot of fighters can hang around a little bit later. I've never really taken a lot of abuse. I've always been pretty safe fighter, and I let my body rest. And so, yeah, it sounds crazy, but the guys who are successful are the guys that try something. If I was able to go out there and wasn't able to do the things that I believe I can, then I would just stick to promoting. I love boxing very much, but I believe that I can still do this. And, from the films of people watching me train and spar, a lot of them agree with me. They say, you know what, we didn't think you would look like that, but you do. So I'm curious, I'm excited, and I'm a little curious also to see how I feel in there. I've been feeling great through camp. I've been training for about 4 months for this, so I feel really good. And I want to see if what I think will happen happens.
No, I mean, no one can obviously tell you, what to do, so to speak. I mean, your body and your health better than anyone does, obviously. And you can quite clearly tell, even just by this interview, you're not a silly guy. You understand the game. You've been around it for years and years. You're not a guy that's got a ton of stoppages on your record in terms of stoppage losses. So you're right when you say you haven't took loads of punishments. So no, it's a brilliant thing. If you still do have something, then no one can tell you not to do it. The opponent, Tavoris Teague, if I'm not mistaken, is that the guy you're getting in with? Do you know much about the guy?
You know what? I've seen some video footage of him. He doesn't have the best record, but he's a guy that's tough and durable. I've seen him. He had a draw with the undefeated guy recently, and also he's been the distance with a lot of guys, a lot of up and coming guys, a lot of undefeated guys, And he's tall, so he's going to present some challenges. He has tall, long reach. He switches from lefty to righty, from what I know. And, which is, I think it's a good opponent to kind of see where I'm at. I haven't been in there in, 4.5 years, so it's a guy that'll give me a good gauge of what I can do, because it's one thing, as a fighter to have the great reflexes in the gym, but actually in a fight, it's such a fast pace and everything. So I'm looking forward to see how I feel, in there. And I think, this will be a good test about where I'm at, because throughout my career, I've fought just tough opposition after tough opposition. I didn't take any breaks, besides the Valenzuela guy, 2010 or 2011, that guy. Other than that, no, it was tough fighter after tough fighter after tough fighter. And, I think this guy's going to be tough also. But, it's something where I can see exactly where I'm at. And then we'll start building after that. I mean, the plan is to do this fight in April and then to come back again in August and then hopefully in October or November again, so kind of, do each step will be a little bit better competition and then kind of see what happens, next year.
Okay, so like a fight by fight kind of basis type thing. Steve, this fight is at welterweight, right?
Yeah, it was a slightly bit over welterweight, man. I would say more towards super welter than welter, okay. And that's what I fought on the Contender when I did that Contender show.
Okay. And you mentioned there obviously about your goal is to have this fight here, then another fight in August time, then another fight towards the end of the year. Are you looking past that and perhaps trying to envision something big coming off of this? I mean, what are your ambitions at this stage in your career? Do you still feel like you've got something to prove?
I do. I feel like, well, I'm a guy that's I love history and I love chasing after things and doing something that hasn't been done. And one of my goals is, each fight, my weight is going to come down. That's the plan. And I would love to position myself to fight for a championship next year, maybe towards the end of 2020, to do something that no small guy has done. And that's to win and fight for a championship 20 years after he won the first one. So I won the title in 2000. But to be able to be in a position to fight for a championship in 2020, I think is incredible. I mean, I've never seen it done. The only other person I've seen do something like that was George Foreman. I haven't seen a small guy or heard of a small fighter that's been a small, like a lightweight type fighter, do anything like that. I've heard of guys 10 years later, but not 20 years after winning a championship to get in a position to fight for one. And, once that got in my head, I said, you know what, I don't think that's been done. And I think it would be quite unique to pull something off like that, to get yourself in a position to not only have won a title 20 years later, but to be in a position to fight for one. You got a lot of guys out there. A lot of this school of boxing is different. A lot of the trainers now, they watch a lot of videos. The boxing trainers are not the old school trainers that, were years ago. And a lot of these guys lack a lot of knowledge about the sport. And so I think if I can position myself right, I can find the right person and get an opportunity. So that's the long-term plan. That's kind of why I staged this comeback. I said, what if I was able to do something that, very few, if any, have done, to promote himself, to get in a position to challenge, for a respected championship.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And coming down to the last couple of questions, Steve, I'm guessing, you're talking about this plan. I'm guessing you're aiming at 147. If that is right, what is your thoughts of the champions right now, the whole division actually, at 147? Some good fighters. We even saw that on the weekend.
I would aim more at 140.
Okay.
140.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
140 would be better.
All right.
A lot of the guys at 147 really big, but I would aim in at 140. I've been talking. We're going to look at a good nutritionist after this, to do it the right way. And the good thing is that I can fight whenever I want because we promote our own shows, so that'll be good. But yeah, it's a lot. I believe the 140-pound division is pretty wide open. I mean, I like Regis Prograis.
Yeah.
He's fighting for the championship coming up. But aside from him, I don't really see too many guys that would make me worry or think too much. I mean it's a lot of good guys in the weight, but 147 is loaded by that. I mean that would be crazy. Those guys, it's a loaded division. I mean, you'd have to wait a long time just to get a crack at a title of any one of those guys. But you know how boxing works. You start winning some fights, these guys will offer you, against a bigger fighter. But my plan is to be 140 pounds. That's what I would prefer. I think I would be stronger there. I'd still be smart and fast. That would be the proper way,
Yeah, I mean, you're right in saying Regis Prograis as one of the best in the division. The one other guy that I'd say is with Prograis in terms of kind of being head and shoulders above the rest of the guys, a guy from Scotland. You may not have heard of him. His name's Josh Taylor. Very, very good fighter. Very good fighter. Very big for the weight. Southpaw. He also is about to fight for a world title. I believe it's in May. And yeah, if he wins his fight and Regis wins his fight, then they'll go into the final of that World Boxing Super Series and fight each other, and that'll be incredible. But watch out for Josh Taylor, very good fighter, Steve.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at him, Josh Taylor. Yeah, I haven't heard of him, but I'm gonna check him out.
Definitely, you'll be impressed. He's a great fighter. But yeah, the final question for you, Steve. I know you're a knowledgeable boxing guy. I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but I must ask this question. We like to ask it to all the boxers that we speak to from overseas. Who's your favourite UK fighter of any era?
Oh, of any era?
Any era.
Oh, you know who I really like? I've always liked Nigel Benn.
Yes.
Nigel Benn, man. I mean, I saw a video of Nigel Benn sparring Roberto Duran, and that was great. I mean, this is a few years ago, and those two, man, wow. But I really like Nigel Benn. I just, he was crafty. He came to fight. And I also like Chris Eubank too, but Nigel Benn, man, was I just loved watching him fight. I mean, I got a few different guys I liked. I always liked the Nas. I used to love when he brought that excitement. Yeah, he brought the excitement. But yeah, I would say probably my favorite is Nigel Benn.
Yeah, he's a very, very popular answer. A lot of people say either Nigel Benn, Nas. Sometimes we get Hatton, Lennox Lewis, another very popular one. But yeah, very, very good fighters, a lot of them. But listen, Steve, I really do appreciate your time this week, sir. Best of luck for April 6th. It's been a real pleasure interviewing you, and I hope that we speak again very soon. Yeah,
and I wanted to say too, I love I love you guys over there for your boxing knowledge. Being in the UK, I'm gonna plan on taking a trip and maybe coming to some fights over there because, I had a great time when I went over there, and I went there in 2007 actually, and I've always wanted to go back. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'd welcome you over here. I mean, the UK boxing fans certainly know who you are, and they'd love to have you over here. So if that does happen, it'd be exciting times for the boxing fans. But like I say, Steve, thanks so much for giving us a piece of your time, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 179 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's show, the former IBF Super-Featherweight World Champion Steve Forbes and the reigning WBC Super-Middleweight World Champion Andre Dirrell. The prediction league currently stands at myself in the lead on 93 points. Ayaz is in second place on 87, and you, the listeners, are third with 86 points. Of course, best of luck this weekend with the predictions. I accidentally missed out a couple of fights on the preview segment. Also on that Leicester show that Frank Warren is putting on, Nathan Gorman 15-0 will be taking on Kevin the Kingpin Johnson 34-12 with one draw. It's a good fight because obviously in Gorman's last fight he went the distance with Kajanu, and then Dubois went on to knock Kajanu out. The pair are obviously supposed to be meeting at some point in the near future, and Kevin Kingpin Johnson went the distance with Dubois, so this is Gorman's chance to knock him out, and that'd be a real statement. Also, I forgot to mention that on Saturday night in Mexico, Andrew Selby's flown out there to take on Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilar. His record is 13-1. The one loss was a split decision over 4 rounds on his debut. You can't really read into that too much. He's won every single fight since then, including avenging the defeat. He's also coming off 7 straight knockouts in a row, so Andrew's record, of course, 11-0 going in. Come on, Andrew, but it's going to be very tough to get a decision out there in Mexico. In other news, Josh Warrington versus Kid Galahad, it's finally been announced. The date will be June the 15th at the First Direct Arena in Leeds, and also Artur Beterbiev's next fight has been announced. He'll take on Radivoj Kaladzik, I think that's how it's said. Kaladzik's record is 24-1. His one loss came to Marcus Brown by a split decision in an 8-rounder, a fight where both himself and Brown were down on the canvas. Of course, if Beterbiev can stop this guy, then it's obviously a statement. But that is about everything, my friends. Thank you all for listening. If you have listened this far, then your ears are truly appreciated by myself and Ayaz, the Trevor McDonald of Boxing News. God bless you all, and we shall see you all again next week. Thank you.